Welcome to another edition of Dairy Vogue with me, Val Kleinhans, where we talk a lot of the digital stuff, the pop culture stuff. This is perfect for the two beautiful ladies that I have with me today, Hailey SUSSER and Lauren GILL. They are both content creators with a passion for living better simply, making things less complicated and helping you embrace life as it is, twists, turns, all that good stuff. They love things digital and they share that love, I should say, in their podcast. Let's circle back. We're talking about all of it today. Thank you both for being here.
Of course. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were just saying that Lauren and I have never been guests on a podcast together. So we're happy to be here. And honestly, this is my second time today talking to Lauren. So I'm thrilled.
We love getting to throw these meetings on the calendar.
Well, how did you two meet in the first place?
Okay, it's actually
Funny
so
story.
interesting. So we met via social media. And I had my own podcast that I started like kind of during the pandemic, right? Or I had it during the pandemic.
Or I think it was right before.
Right before.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We all were doing it. We were all bored.
Like 2019, the good old days.
And I had a bunch of mutual friends with Lauren. And I wanted to be friends with Lauren. So I DM'd her and I was like, do you want to be on my podcast? And I just showed up at her apartment and we recorded.
Yeah, the first time we met was her and I sitting on my tiny couch in my tiny apartment, recording a podcast about who knows what. And this, I think it was early 2020, right before the shutdown and everything. So then we were kind of long distance virtual friends on social with that. And then once everything started to open up again, we were like, okay, we need to get brunch and meet up and hang out in person. The rest
it was a brunch. It was us two and then our friends Lindsay and Maddie. And we hit it off instantly. Like the four of us just really clicked as friends. So we planned a Hamptons trip for the next weekend. And that weekend really just solidified like the best friendship.
We moved very quickly.
Yeah, I say Lauren and I are like twin flames, even though she's married and happily found her soulmate. But
oh my goodness,
I'm very much a part of that as well. I'm a part of that relationship.
Oh yeah.
One's Megan Kelly, one's Megan Fox. Got it. Okay.
Yes.
I mean, if you can survive bottomless mimosas and a Hamptons weekend, I do think that solidifies it.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, we've been tested and we have come through. We've come through it all.
We really have.
Well, let's talk about, so the first night you met, period, you just start recording the podcast and have fun with it?
Yeah, so we had been following each other on Instagram and kind of chatting here and there. We had a lot of mutual friends just in kind of the New York City influencer space. And both Hailey and I worked full-time jobs in addition to content creation. So we had that in common where we work on, the other side of the digital marketing and we worked in media. So we had definitely been to some events together, but we don't actually remember being introduced to each other and actually meeting until that time when we were DMing and she was like, okay, I need to interview you for my podcast. And I was like, come on over. So we called that our like first official meeting.
Okay, so both of you had similar interests to begin with. So Lauren, you were not thinking Hailey was a crazy person for being like, come on a podcast, or like, because you both had the same interests. How did you realize? How did you both realize that you had a lot of that in common?
So I think that we both like just from like seeing Lauren's Instagram. So like my main things that I would say to describe me are, interested in fashion and beauty and family oriented. Like those are my two main pillars. It's what I post about most. And I really saw that through Lauren's feed as well. I don't know. I just had a very, I had a very strong feeling that we would click as friends. And it felt like inviting her to do the podcast was like the best way to like make that intro without it being like, hey, like, do you want to have a play date? So
exactly. It's hard making adult friends and kind of like appreciating that. Like, do you want to grab coffee? Do you want to get a drink? And I feel like by doing the podcast, it allowed both of us to kind of talk a lot about ourselves and our journeys. And we were like, okay, we have very similar stories here of like how we got to where we are now.
Mhm.
So you got to know each other really quick. How in the
Exactly.
world? I mean, we've all agreed that it's really hard to make friends as an adult. I don't know why that is, but it is probably because we're all so damn busy. I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
Very true.
You two seem to have cracked the code. How do you make a long distance friendship work?
I think it's just like communication. Like Lauren and I, even living in the city, because like Lauren said, we both have full-time jobs. Like she's married, like we have our own lives. So even living between like Jersey City and Manhattan was
It
basically
feels
like
long
long
distance.
distance friendship. You know, it was ugh, I don't want to come into the city today. Like, can we do something like another time? Like it was a long distance friendship. And I mean, we still talk every single day. We have a podcast, which keeps us fully connected.
Mhm.
Um, and when I come to New York, like Lauren is a priority for me. Like she's like one of my best friends in the world. So the minute if I'm in New York, like I don't care where I have to go, I'll see Lauren.
Yeah, and we make it a priority to see each other when we are in the same place, and we will always schedule something, we'll cancel other plans. And
Yeah.
when we're not in the same city and, everything is remote nowadays, I feel like we're always talking on different platforms. So if we're not texting, then we're sending DMs to each other or we're sending TikToks to each other. You have 10 different streams of communication going on at all times. And also starting the podcast kind of allowed us to take that to the next level and to be able to interact with our community more and really share our friendship with other people who are also like dealing with similar things and going through similar things. So it just allowed us to even connect deeper, once a week for an hour, really have that time to sit and chat about what has been going on in our lives.
And I think
Yeah.
even that's a lot for adult friendship. Like I've learned
Sure.
that like throughout my life. I mean, I'm almost 30. Like I've learned that it used to be very hard for me that I wouldn't see my friends as frequently as I did in college because to me
Yeah.
that was still friendship. And now everyone is just living their own lives. Everyone is doing their best. Not everyone texts every day. That was really hard for me at first. So I think really just acknowledging that whereas in college your friends are your whole life, whereas
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
it's just part of your life, so you need to prioritize that, but in a different way.
Exactly.
So we do that, and I think the podcast, I mean, is a great way for us to stay connected. But even if not, like we're always, like Lauren said, we're always talking, we're always in contact.
And you both said something that I thought was key that I don't hear out of a lot of mouths, which is we make each other a priority.
Mhm.
So what was it about the other one that made you decide she's going to be a focus in my life? I want to make her a priority.
I
I
mean,
think go
go ahead,
there's so many things we have to say.
say great things about me, and then I'll say great things about
I
you.
know. I was gonna say, I feel like something for Hailey and I both, and something I really admired in her is when Hailey makes a plan with you, she sticks to it. And she's
Huge.
someone who definitely will be there for you. She's not going to flake out last minute. She understands what you have going on in your life. She has a ton going on in her life. And so when we do make that plan to hang out, it's priority. Like you said, we're clearing our schedules, we're going to meet each other, and just being willing to do different things. Like we would used to joke that we used to always be each other's permanent plus ones to events because we enjoy going to these events, but you don't want to go by yourself. And so it's
No,
nice when you
awkward.
have someone who's on the same wavelength as you, like, okay, we'll stop in, we'll see the activation, grab a drink, and then us two will leave and go get our own dinner after or something like that. So I think that's something that makes it really special.
Yeah, and I think also what's unique about mine and Lauren's friendship is that I feel like a lot of girl friendships are competitive, but Lauren and I both genuinely want the other one to succeed. So, if Lauren whereas I feel like in the influencing industry, like it can be taboo to ask if someone was invited to an event just because you don't know if they were. But Lauren and I are the first text, like being like, are you going to this? If you're not, I'll email them. You'll be my plus one. Like we're
Exactly.
very much
Got it.
like Lauren is the kind of friend who would say your name in a crowded room of influential people. Like, and that's, one of the reasons I love her is because like we just want what's best for each other. So whether that is, being each other's plus ones to event, having a plan, having a phone call, even canceling plans. Like if Lauren called me and was like, I'm really overwhelmed, like I can't do this, like I would never get upset because I want what's best for her, and I know she would do the same for me.
Yeah. So there's an element of trust. There's an element of respect. There's the taking care of each other, the mutual admiration for each other. Man, that is really, really special. That is awesome. No wonder you guys do a podcast together. I totally get it. So let's dive in. Just let's circle back for a little bit more. What are your favorite parts about doing the show?
Oh my goodness. It has been so much fun. We're coming up on our year. And I think the best part that we can probably both agree on, but is just getting to hear the feedback from people who are listening, whether it's friends and family or followers or, you know, people who just stumble upon the podcast, but people who message us and say how they can really relate to something that we're going through, or if they're not relating, just how they appreciate that we're opening up about things that sometimes people don't talk about, or how we are so honest and sometimes too honest. But I just love kind of getting to connect with other people who are dealing with similar issues. We joke how we're 20 somethings just kind of trying to figure it out in this digital world, and so many people are going through it. And I feel like before there wasn't really a podcast that we could listen to where we were like, okay, I'm definitely dealing with that. You know, some things felt a little out of reach or just not as relatable. So that's something that I think is so important to both of us.
Right. And also at the core of it, Lauren and I are just both older sisters. So having that attitude towards it, like it makes sense, you know, like there are things that like I want Lauren's opinion on, like more than anything. And you know, I think her opinion would help many other people. So it's just two older sisters giving each other advice.
Exactly. We're trying to.
Yeah. We do our best. I wouldn't say take all of our advice, but you know, take it with a grain of salt.
Exactly.
But you're gonna be honest about it. And I think that is so important and so key. What did you feel like was missing from the other podcasts that you were listening to, that you were like, I want to do ours differently and I want to provide X because I feel like the world is missing X, whatever that is?
Yeah. I can go first and then you can go, Lauren. But I think a lot of influencer podcasts talk about the glamorous life of being an influencer. And then when listening, I was like, I don't experience that at all. And I would get really upset and really down on myself. And, or even like podcasts that I listen to about dating, I'm like, I don't go on that many dates a week. Or, you know, about podcasts where it's like talking about building your own business. It's like, well, I can't relate to any of that. Like, I'm just trying my best. So
trying to survive. And with Hailey and I both working our full-time jobs and doing this influencer thing, I thought that was something that's a bit untapped in the industry, is people who are doing it, you know, it's a side hustle, but it's also a second full-time job. And often when it is kind of an influencer podcast, it's people who are doing it full-time, which is amazing, but they're experiencing totally different problems or lack of problems than we're dealing with, having to do this, you know, from 6 p.m. to 9 at night instead of all day to do it. So we really related on that level. And we found a lot of our peers are also doing side hustles. It doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, blogging or anything in the influencing world, but a lot of people do have interests, hobbies, businesses outside of their 9 to 5. And so we kind of wanted to talk about that and how we are balancing things, how sometimes it can be overwhelming, and just really be authentic about it.
Do you remember the moment that the two of you realized we really are doing a good job together, or like we would be a really good fit to continue doing this together?
What was that like? Before we started, like our friends are always laughing at us. We were on a show wherever we go
in the world.
I think it was after maybe our second Hamptons trip we did with everyone, when Tom was there too. And Hailey and I, we just get in this like witty banter mode. And we were like, more people need to hear this.
Yes. We also, I think we're so similar, but so different at the same time that it like really works. And I think for me, like thinking like our podcast was a hit was me going to Lauren's wedding. And I will never ever stop talking about this because I showed up at Lauren's wedding.
Yeah.
I didn't know anyone. I mean, I knew her parents. I don't think I'd ever actually met them in person, but I knew her family and that was it. And every single person there, though, knew everything about me. And
Hailey had
we
a
were
line
listening.
of people who wanted to meet her. They were like, "Where's the other Let's Circle Back girl?" It was
people were
amazing.
coming up to us telling us their bevies of the week. Like, I was like, this
Oh.
is reaching people. Like,
I
yes,
loved
it's Lauren's
it.
friends and family, but like, it's reaching people.
And it was
Oh my
also like
God.
my mom's friends who I barely knew, like aunts, uncles. Like it was amazing. It was great.
I love it. My bevy of the week, by the way, beverage of the week. That's for
Yes.
anybody that has no clue. It definitely has been Jameson and Coke.
Ooh.
That's been my bevy of the week. What do you normally like to drink?
For
So-
alcohol or regular? We switch it up
Good.
sometimes based on the week, but
Whatever you're feeling. Yeah.
Okay, so for alcohol, I'm an espresso martini with tequila, girl,
Mhm.
or like a gin martini. I love a martini, just as long as it doesn't have vodka in it, because I don't drink vodka.
Yeah, me either.
And then for like regular drinks, I love a fountain soda.
Yeah.
Like a
and then
fountain
for
Diet Coke.
me, trying to think, I'm like, so I'm shockingly not a martini girl, but I do espresso martinis. I just can't get the olive juice, not my
No,
thing.
Your
So
drink is a Hugo Spritz. We're making it a thing.
I love a Hugo Spritz. Elderflower liqueur, a little champagne.
We're trying to get our favorite restaurant in New York to name it the Lauren. We haven't told them that. They have not heard us say that yet. But
They'll
like,
learn
we're willing it
eventually.
into existence.
And
willing it. We're
other than that,
manifesting.
I always have like my huge water bottle with me.
She has
We're
her
both
Stanley.
Stanley girlies, of course.
We're family girls.
Had to be.
We love an emotional support water. We have matching pink ones.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
cute.
Yeah, these are our twinning pink ones.
I know. I feel so behind now because I'm still in my blue Yeti stage. So apparently I need
Yetis
to
are
up it.
amazing too.
There are two types of girls, Yeti girls and Stanley girls. Like, they're both amazing, but like it's like an iPhone versus like a Galaxy person. You know, like it's just
got
what
it.
you like. Nothing is worse than the other, but like it's just
They
what
both do the same job at the end of the day.
I'm a Stanley girl living in a Hydro Flask household.
Oh boy. Wow. Okay.
Taboo.
Very taboo. So what's a Stanley girl and what might be like a Yeti girl? When you envision them, what do you think?
A Stanley girl like always has like her hand avail, like it's always like flaunting her Stanley because like you can't put it away. You know?
Yeah.
Like a Stanley girl loves the aesthetic of a Stanley.
Got it. Okay. Because it does have a pretty design.
Yeah, they're stunning.
It's true. And it's the handle. It's like you're flinging it around.
Right, like you just always have it in hand. I think a Yeti girl is like more like
there.
a Yeti girl is definitely like more of like a understated cool girl, you know?
Or I gotta work. I'm just gonna hold this and not worry about how the handle
Exactly.
is
It
or
just
if I'm
sits
gonna
on your
throw my
desk.
water.
Right. And you can always like
Yeah.
you can always like close it, right?
That's true.
Like,
you can
like you
close
can't
the
close
little.
a Stanley.
You
No.
can't?
No, this because of the straw. You can't tuck it.
Oh, got
You
it.
can't like hide it away.
So there's like an ease to a Yeti, whereas the Stanley is like more high maintenance, but it's beautiful.
Okay, so
It's
Yeti
like
girl
a
is.
flamingo.
Stanley
Got
girls
it.
are extra.
So, but Yeti girl is like, I don't have time for this. I want one job and I want to keep it that way.
I think I just made a thing, guys.
We did. It's Stanley
Make it
girl
our next
versus.
graphic.
Versus the Yeti girl.
Which
So funny.
Well, let's talk about those graphics because I did peep the Insta, obviously. And I thought, you got some somewhat personal posts for the show. You like to call out the BS in life and help other baddies stay focused on their own journey. Why do you think so many of us could use that extra reminder to like stay confident and take care of ourselves? I mean,
Because I need it.
Same.
The self-reminder.
Same.
Like we post stuff that we want to see. Like we love our audience and like we appreciate them so much. But like we're posting shit that we want.
Right.
Because if
So
we're gonna make a relatable podcast, like people are gonna probably relate to our graphics and our thoughts as well.
Yeah, I'm like, we can't talk about things that we're not feeling. So usually our topic of the week is something that has been on both of our minds. And we're like, okay, if we are both thinking this, then other people are definitely thinking this.
Yeah. Give me an example. Like what's one thing that maybe you might discuss in the future that's been on your minds?
Well, we have one that we just recorded today and we did a Q1 recap. So talking
okay.
about like the first 3 months of the year, how we've been doing on any New Year's goals, anything we've been loving, like trends we've been trying. And that's something I feel like a lot of my friends are starting to talk about. Like, okay, we're getting into spring. How have I been doing this year? So
Yeah.
we just did a little, self-reflection, not a strict performance review, a little less stressful,
No.
but
It was an internal review. 100%.
exactly.
An internal review with me. I'm having a meeting with me. If I'm
Yes.
talking to me, I'm just having a
Check
meeting
in with
me.
yourself.
Because everything we do has corporate jargon mixed into it. I don't know if you caught on to that, but
Yeah.
because we are so corporate, we are such corporate girls at heart. We found that everything we were saying to each other like was like a let's circle back or like please hold or like
Yeah,
like,
I get it.
Like we
on the
sign off best
calendar.
wishes,
Yeah.
Best
like a classic
wishes.
email signature, So we had to
Warm
poke fun at it a
regards.
little bit. Yes,
Yeah.
kind regards.
Kind
Yeah.
We're
We did a
looking
whole
forward.
yeah, like we call our podcast like weekly touch bases. Like
TB, Hailey, Lauren, TB.
Those are the touch bases that we want on our Outlook calendar, though. At least I would rather have
Exactly.
those on my calendar than
we
Oh,
put it on the
real.
calendar every
Yeah.
week.
every week. Well, so what's next for you two for the podcast, you as individuals? What are you looking forward to?
Yeah, so for me personally, I just launched my YouTube channel. So that's been
Ooh.
something that's really fun doing.
10 out of 10
vlogs
recommend.
and-
It's so good.
Yeah.
Thanks. I can't wait for you to be back in New York to guest star, of course. But
Vlogging.
I know it's so fun just leaning into the YouTube content more and with the podcast, just really trying to grow it to reach more people who can relate because we know there are a ton of people out there who can relate. So just continue to really grow our audiences, put out some more fun and hopefully relatable and helpful shows too.
Yeah, I definitely, mirror that, like just growing the podcast 100%. We're trying to build up our TikTok for the podcast, which has,
Going.
it's going. It's hard when we do so many things. Like that's really burner, especially because we're Instagram girls at heart. Like that has always
We're
been
millennials,
We're millennials. Like we can't help it. Like we're Instagram girlies. Like
good,
we got our start in influencing through like the traditional blogs and
like
and
I still have a
Instagram.
website. I'm old school.
No, I do too. And to be honest with you, I still feel like I'm figuring out what do I even want to do with TikTok. I don't know. I'm just making shit and putting it up.
I know what I want to do on TikTok.
Do you?
And
What do you want to do?
I have to wait a little bit.
Okay.
So, because I'm getting like this new apartment in Miami, I'm living at home now. I want to like go on like interior design TikTok and like really because I don't know if
that's my favorite TikTok.
You don't know this, but Lauren does. But I have my certificate in interior design from Parsons, so I never get to show that side.
Yeah, show it off, girl.
I want to do like easy, attainable design for my new apartment. From Amazon, discounted, thrift stores, like that kind of stuff. Like it'll be a vibe, and I'm thinking very much like one hotel's aesthetic with like pops of pink.
Ooh, love that.
Okay.
But I'm really excited. I think that's like a really good niche. I just like need to get an apartment.
For sure.
Yeah, and you'll get there.
All
I
life
fully believe
changes.
it. I know. I would rather see your decor ideas than white shiplap for the 1,000th time with like Chip and Joanna Gates. I'm like, oh my God.
It's my Q2 goal.
I love it.
Cool. Well, I'm so looking forward to everything that's coming. You guys are fantastic. You're a lot of fun. You're very bubbly. I've had a great time with this chat. Thank you so much for being here and hanging out.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much for having us.